American football in Finland.
So, 2023 Maple League season is over, and it was a good one. It was very competitive till the very end, and we want to use this time to talk a little bit about top storylines from this season, some things that happened that we want to just touch on a little bit before getting into like playoffs and moving on from the regular season. First thing I want to talk about is the bottom dwellers. Helsinki Wolverines went 0-12, man. Did not see that one coming. Always kind of expect them as an organization to put together either interesting team or have something going on that gives you hope that, okay, they're moving in the right direction. But easily said this year they're rebuilding, but this isn't the team that they're going to have next year. So I wouldn't even call it a rebuild. I would say this year the Wolverines took a year off, right? They went 0-12, didn't win any games, didn't make any real moves to try to win any games, and aren't going to be punished for it. They're not going to go down, no relegation this year. So they'll be in the Maple League next year. They'll be able to come back stronger. Maybe they save some money or something. I'm not 100% sure what they were trying to do. But as of 2023 season, this will be their offer. They came in last place, and hopefully they'll try to forget this going forward. What are you thinking about the Wolverine season?
Oh man, I think it was a tough one. Definitely a tough one. I don't really say it's a regrouping season because I don't know what their plan is
Yeah,
for the future. So I can't say regrouping. It was just up in the air. They didn't go all out like they normally do with buying players and signing a whole bunch of different players. So maybe they just needed a year to save some money and try to come back to the drawing board next year. But it was still an interesting year for them. Did see some young players did get a lot of experience against better competition. The Wolverines actually have a lot of their younger players playing in the
yeah,
Maple League, and that does do something. Even though you're getting beat down, you're getting beat, it still does something for the mental maturity of a lot of those players comes from games like that. When you're getting beat down and you go back to the next play and try to make a play for your team. And I've seen a lot of good things out of the Wolverines. I've seen a lot of good things of them getting scored on, and those guys still out there playing, still out there fighting, still out there trying to do something to help them win. They didn't get discouraged. I didn't see too many heads hanging down. It was like they were excited to be out there, and that's what you want. That's what you want to see.
yeah,
When you go
yeah,
back and look at that film, that's what you want to watch. You want to see the guys having fun still. Because at the end of the day, football is fun. Yes, you want to win, but you have to be realistic too. Everybody can't be number one. Everybody can't, be in the playoffs. And after a few games, you kind of know where you sit at as far as your team. And I think the Wolverines seen that early that, hey, we probably can't compete with a lot of these teams, but we can get better. We can play hard. We can learn some things. And I think that's, if anything, that's what they got from the season was learning what guys can play where and learning who got heart and
yeah,
who's tough and stuff like that. And I think then you go in the off season and then you try to add imports or whatever. You try to add other guys to help to complement those guys. And I think that's what the Wolverines went through this year. I mean, it was 0-12 and it sucks not to get a win, but at the same time, you got to go back and look at that film and find those good things that you can build off of for the next season. And that's all they can do.
yeah. I think I kind of wanted to touch on like every team, but also don't want to spend too much time touching on every team. So I'm gonna be quick on this next one. The UNC team is another season being below average and not the worst team. They brought in better imports than they had last year and did slightly better. I think last year they won 2 games, and this year they won 4 games. So maybe next year they'll win 6 games. They'll bring in even more imports. They'll bring in some like NFL guys or something next year. Is that, I don't know. But the storyline for
Man.
UNC is UNC being UNC. I mean, I don't know what the goal is, to just be average. Like I'm leaving it at that. Let's move on. Another storyline. I really don't want to waste no time on that right now. The Steelers won 2 games without Lee Anthony Reasonover and missed the playoffs for the first time since entering the Maple League. They've
The
never
dynasty is over.
Wow. A little
The
quick.
dynasty is over.
A little quick. How do you feel about the Steelers? Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it because this is a major storyline. How do you feel about the Steelers?
I tell you how I feel right there. The dynasty is over. The Scorpio Steelers, we appreciate y'all for giving us something new to look at over the last few years, giving us a breath of fresh air, reminding us that with hard work and dedication, other organizations can become the top dog. But that day is over now.
We're just gonna act like 2019 for the Helsinki Roosters didn't happen, huh? We're just gonna ignore that.
No, I'm not saying. I'm not saying it didn't.
Was 2019 or 2020? One of them years.
I'm not
2020,
saying
2020. Yeah, COVID season, right?
2000 COVID season. You know, I'm not taking nothing away from what
it happens. It happens.
It happens.
It happens.
It's over now, though. That dynasty is over. It's over. The reason
that's tough. I ain't trying to argue, but I might argue.
I didn't make it over. They made it over when Lee Anthony Reasonover got hurt and didn't make an adjustment. They didn't make an adjustment.
It's just a transition.
If you think there hasn't been a team that wasn't, I won't say heavily imported, but there hasn't been a team that was more local than import that has won the Maple Bowl in the fashion in which I think you were trying to say Scorpio is trying to do, man. I don't know, they're rebuilding or what they try to do. But I
don't think that they're trying to do it to the level of like imports, but I think the positions that they are doing it at are different. And again, the quarterback. It's pretty much just the quarterback because they have imports.
Do you think the Scorpio Steelers are staying with Ambrose?
I don't know. That ain't my business. That's the Scorpio Steelers business.
If they do, the dynasty is over, is what I'm saying. It's over.
Okay, I can agree to that. I mean, I'm with you there. I was never, on the Ambrose train. I mean, if they're not gonna bring in, I think we figured it out there. If the Steelers don't bring in an import quarterback, the dynasty is pretty much over. But last thing I want to say about the Steelers, again, might be the last time I ever talk about the Steelers. I would like to make a bid that somebody pick up Hannes Harju at receiver. Yeah. I think he is a talent, a gem, and I do not want to see him waste years. Yeah, if he's not going to be given opportunity. Like, I think that's the biggest disservice the Steelers can do is not give that young receiver the opportunity to become great. I think he can become great if he's given opportunity. He's shown it even this season being the number one. I don't care who their imports were. He was always the number one for this team. And again, the guys that are watching film know a lot of times he made Amber look better than he was a lot of times this season. Just imagine what he could do with someone who can make him look better than he is. And I just really hope that going forward, the Steelers figure something out about that. But that's it.
That's it.
We're done with non-playoff teams. Yes. Okay. Let's talk about some of these playoff teams and what's the storylines for them. Q, who you got? What you thinking?
All right, we're starting out with the Royals. Over the years, the past few years, we've all learned that you can never count out the Royals. Although,
I mean, I wanted to, but you can't.
Although having a little help never hurts. Having a little help. We seen the post that the Royals posted and said clinched the playoffs. Now,
I feel like that's inaccurate. I feel like that's inaccurate.
That's a little inaccurate. I think it's a little inaccurate. Clinched means that you actually had to win a game. You actually had to beat somebody to get in this position, per se. Now they did with a little bit of help. So I'm not gonna take it all away from them. Now, what I will say, the Royals, you can never count them out. It don't matter who play for them, don't matter who's the quarterback, don't matter who's over there for some kind of reason, the Royals are always in the mix at the end of the season. I have no
Always.
idea how they
I know
do
they
it.
matter. Yeah, like
Always in the
you
mix.
can't count these guys out. You can't count them out. Like it's crazy.
And we didn't know. And we didn't know we did our last episode that they actually had a chance to still be in it
Yeah, we didn't know.
completely. So I take it off until we found out like after we recorded that they could be in it. Now,
because the stats was done weirdly because they had played more games than the other teams or something. That's why.
Yeah. So biggest headline for the Royals, I say that, man. You can never count the Royals out. Now we're in the playoffs. We are in the playoffs. The last time the Royals have been to the Maple Bowl, 2017. Been 6 years.
Wow. It's been that long?
It's been that long. It's been 6 years since the Royals have been there.
I don't want to say it, but it might be longer.
I'm not gonna do that because they're gonna ready to tag us already. You already know they didn't want to tag us anyway all week. But this goes to show now. What I will say is Timothy Morvick, salute to you, my good sir.
That guy.
Salute to you, my good sir.
That guy.
Because I gotta say this: rushing touchdowns, passing touchdowns is what has put the Royals in the position that they're in. With the addition of Alpha. Now, the last time that the Royals played the Crocs, they only won by a touchdown. Crocs only won by a touchdown. That's it.
Touchdown.
So you're only as good the last game you played. And that's a great thing. That's a great thing for them now. It's a great thing. Although they did play in Vassar. So I will give them that. They had that home field thing. But this is crucial right now. It's playoff time. So everything that happened in the preseason, in the regular season doesn't really matter now. Demetrius, Ortiz, all those guys, Dimitri, all those guys over there now.
His name is DeMarco. He wants you to know that. He's told me that time.
My bad, man.
Again. Sorry.
My bad, man.
Tell him what you told me though, Q. Tell him.
My bad, man. You good, man. He a good player, man. I'm sorry, man. I'm trying to remember all these names. I apologize.
It is a lot of names.
His last name.
It's a lot of names.
I got his last name right. Then Ortiz.
I think it's Ortiz.
Ortiz. All right, I got the last name now.
ARTIS.
DeMarco. I apologize, DeMarco, because you are a baller. Let me not take that away from you. But speaking of him, he's got to have a big game this game. He has to. For them to have a chance, he has to have a big game on defense. Not just that, but the Royals have to show us something that they've never showed before, and that's the ability to close out a game against the top.
So we talked about the Royals playoffs. I mean, you can't count them out. What about the Roosters? That's the next team I want to talk about storylines. What is your thoughts on their, situation?
I picked the Roosters from the beginning of the season to go to the championship, to win the Maple Bowl. They had a tough start during the season, trying to figure out their identity of the team. Came back now. They're one of the hottest teams. They made some adjustments, brought in another import, got rid of the import. Now they're the hottest team in the playoffs right now. The most scariest team, the team that I would be worried about if I was in the playoffs. So watch out. Watch out for the Roosters, man, because they're equipped on both sides of the ball. I would say now more than any other team. I do think the Butchers are good or whatever, but the Roosters right now is the scariest team. If you don't believe that, watch the film.
Boy.
Watch the film. It's simple.
I'm very fortunate that the team I chose to win the Maple League, again, I always choose the team I think will win the regular season, but I still was wrong. But I mean, I might be, bleeding red now because I feel like the Roosters. I mean, if you're not choosing the Roosters, I don't know what you're doing. Like if anybody's been watching football the last month and a half, the Roosters are it. Even with the loss to the Butchers, which reminds me of the next storyline. The Butchers are good, but y'all still Dallas Cowboys. Like, let's just be honest. The Butchers are playing much better than they did last season, but this team still gives you that ick. Like, we've said it in the previous show, it's great they put up 55 in their last game, but they gave up 44. And I think that's all telling of their season. I think if I'm talking about their whole season, that's what their season looked like. A really good team, but not impressive to the point that you're like, oh, they can't be beat. Like you're always thinking, well, they might show up, they might not show up. If their offense don't show up, they're gonna lose because their defense ain't gonna stop nobody. And the one time their defense needs to make plays, it's one guy that make plays, and that's how they ended up beating the Roosters last time. I mean, it's one guy. I don't care what you say. When I was Zach Wright. Sorry, two Zachs, two W words. Sorry,
ZWs.
yeah,
Yeah.
ZW. I mean, when I was Zach Wright scoring 2 touchdowns in that game, they would lose. So I mean, that's just how it goes. The Butchers in general this season, they've been much better though. I joke about the Dallas Cowboys thing, but that's also a compliment. The Dallas Cowboys are usually a great team. They're a good playoff steady team. But again, your last time you won a Maple Bowl, what, like 2008, something like that? It was a long time ago. So anything else you do, if it ain't winning a Maple Bowl, I don't care. Yeah, it's a bust. And right now, all y'all done is proven that you can beat everybody but 2 teams, and you have to play those 2 teams in the playoffs. You haven't beat the Crocs.
Maybe.
You haven't. I mean, you beat the Roosters, but the last time you played the Roosters, I mean, you beat them, but come on now. We all know how it really went down. Like it was. I mean, you got the W, and that's great, but it doesn't give anybody any confidence going into the playoffs that you're going to beat them this time. And again, even at home, it was at home last time. So that's my thoughts, storylines on the Butchers. What are your thoughts on the Butchers season so far and going into the playoffs?
Show us what I mean. Just like you said, are you still the Dallas Cowboys? Like,
Yeah,
have the Butchers gotten better since the beginning of the season? Yes.
much better. I think
Have they gotten better week to week? No.
There you go.
Because you cannot be the top 2. You cannot be the second team in the league and giving up 400 plus yards against a team like on defense. If that's the case, you're going to have to say we're going to have a shootout in the playoffs. It's basically what you're saying. Like we're going to have the shootout because we can't stop a nosebleed at this point, especially against the hottest offense in the league right now. Like especially against the hottest offense in the league. Like so we got to go back to that. See, now if you were coming back to play UNC this next week, then I could say, okay, well, we're going to have a shootout, but they're probably going to come out on top because of this reason. But you're playing the hottest offense in the league right now, and they run and pass. So, yeah, Butchers, this is the time to tell. I know they've been trying for some years now to get back up to that glory that they've been trying to do, but giving up 400 yards on defense is not it. It's not going to get you there. So I need to make some adjustments, whatever, but let's see. I'm still kind of like halfway with how I feel about the Butchers in the playoffs. I'm still just like I don't understand necessarily their approach to it, but we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I'm not coaching there. So far, they've done enough to be the number 2 team in the league. But at the same time, the playoffs don't really matter. You're playing the Helsinki team. You're in Porvoo. Home field advantage doesn't really matter now. Doesn't count when both of y'all are like 45 minutes away from each other. So it's going to be just as many. It's going to be a lot of Roosters fans there. I know I'm not Scorpio. I know the Butchers fans are going to be out there loud and ready because if they win, they go to the championship. But also, obstacle ahead of them. So we'll see what the Butchers come out with.
Okay, last storyline we'll talk about. I don't know why we ended up making this a thing because this is going to be a long episode. Oh well. Crocodiles. I'm not going to do it because of the audio, but I would give you a round of applause for a great season. It was much better than I would have expected. I mean, I think we thought the Crocodiles were going to be good, but we always think they're going to be good. But they proved it pretty much every week this season. And, I mean, they lost 1 game on the field, 2 in the record books, but they lost 1 game. And even that 1 game that they lost, I could say everybody is beatable. It's one of those things. Everybody's beatable. But in totality, the Crocodiles have looked like the best team all season. And even going into the playoffs, they do not look as hot as the Roosters. I can admit that. But if you had to say who can you trust more in these situations, they're still going to be favored in whatever matchup they're in. And now we're at that point, similar to the Butchers for the Crocodiles. I think this season, even that last game where they didn't really need to beat the Steelers, but they did. And they did it convincingly enough that we know, hey, we're not just going to finish the season on a loss. Just lets us know that they're really committed to getting their first ever Maple Bowl victory this year. And not to jump too far ahead because, you still got a game one in the playoffs. But as a season as a whole, this season has been a great, in my opinion, opportunity for the Crocodiles to elevate from always a bridesmaid, if that makes any sense to anybody who knows American culture. So instead of being always a bridesmaid, you can now be a bride. I feel like in the past, this organization has always been good, but never considered, great or the best. Even when we had the UK invasion for a while and they were just putting up crazy numbers, it was like, yeah, but you're not going to win a championship. Now you have a team that has proven that they've won some tough games in this season too. They won some games that I think they should have lost. But as a team, they would not lose those games. And they've shown that fight all season long, especially like in the last time that they actually played the Royals, where they had to drive down the field in 4 minutes and score with 9 seconds left. Like that's what you're getting ready to get into again here next week. So this season has kind of prepared you for these playoffs to put it all on line. So I think they've had a really great season. And if I could clap, I would clap for them right now. Give them a round of applause for a great season. What about you? What are your thoughts on the Crocodile season so far?
Align with yours the same. This is what a marathon looks like. As an organization, this is exactly what a marathon looks like. They played the long game. They stuck with Powell, not a bad guy to build your team around. This is what they wanted to get to, and they're there now. Giving yourself the opportunity to bring this organization a championship. You didn't do it with the biggest of import names. You did it with a lot of local guys. You added in certain guys, certain places that meshed together well, and they coached it a great job. I think he should definitely get Coach of the Year this year because they put it together. Can't take it away from the Crocs, man. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. Like you said, they only really got one loss officially, but yeah, that's what they've been working to do. That's what they've been working on hard in the off season, and now it's time to just bring it on home if that's what they want. They're trying to bring it on home now. You still got 2 games to do it, but you're sitting in a good spot because for one, anybody traveling into San Diego to play a playoff game is crucial. So they got to pack their lunch, and the Royals don't have Royals don't have that far to go, but they still got to pack their lunch. You know what I'm saying? Because San Diego got a mission. They got a mission. They've been on a mission all season. I think they focused on what their goal is, and we'll see if they get there.
Yeah, I think that does it for 2023 for the season. I think we'll try to get ready to what's next now. So with the regular season finally over, let's talk about a couple guys or names of people we think will be in the awards candidates, mostly for our All Finland awards. We can't speak on what the SAJL does, nor do we care to, but we usually have an Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and an Outstanding Player of the Year, the SISU Award. So first, we'll start off with the Offensive Player of the Year. Let's just throw out names and a quick reason why. And we can just go down the list if you want to. You can go first. Who do you think?
Offensive Player of the Year. Ooh, I'm going to go Christian Powell.
Okay.
Powell, most consistent, led his team to a 10-2 season. Always counted on, always there, always came through when they needed him to. I think he's literally ran them into a number 1 spot in the league, and you can't take that away from him. Like I said, he is one of the most consistent players. I won't say he's the most consistent player, but he's one of the most consistent players. You can count on him.
I'm going to go with Danny Kidner. I'm just taking guys off the list. Okay. And I'm going to leave it at this. You have Roosters pre-Danny, and then you have Roosters post-Danny. The pre-Danny Roosters we picked them to come in almost last because they was trash. Post Danny, Roosters. I mean, I have on my notes that they're the Maple Bowl favorites because this guy has changed what this team is capable of doing. And he's giving them the boost that they need. So I think Danny Kidner is definitely a guy who's up there for one of the best offensive players in the league this year. Who else you got?
All right. My second pick, I'm going with Timothy Morvick.
With
Timothy Morvick. He's my, favorite quarterback right now, just because I think he's a dual threat. Not just a dual threat. I think he can hurt you doing both. Actually, from running to passing, zone read pro. Zone read pro. This is the definition of a zone of a RPO quarterback because he knows how exactly to read. He knows where to go at all times with the ball, whether or not he had enough players or not, or help. Because at a point, I didn't think he had any help besides Alpha and Swirsky. And then look at him now. In some kind of way, they ended up in the playoffs, and a lot of it had to do with his legs and his arm. And I'm going with him, all the way. If I had to choose a quarterback out of the ones that are here in this league now to start my team with, I'm going with Timothy Morvick, and that's no hating on him, nobody else, but he can do everything. He can throw and he can run. So
not a bad choice. Not a bad choice. Next guy I'm gonna bring up is Seth Rolen. And for me, Seth Rolen has been massively impressive considering we've seen him in the Maple League before, and it's like night and day. I think when he played in Porvoo, I remember saying, man, he's really fast considering he's like small and has short legs. And that's pretty much all that's all that stood out was he was fast at times, but nothing special. This season, there's nothing that Seth can't and won't do for his team to help them win. He plays running back. He is untackleable. Like there's like no easy way to like get him on the ground. He doesn't just go down. He has insane, what is it called? Balance that he doesn't fall down. And then also he's versatile enough that he's a ball catcher. He catches passes out of the backfield from the slot position. And there's ways you can get him the ball without just having to hand it to him, which makes him even more valuable as an offensive asset. And then lastly, from the offensive standpoint, this offense only does good when Seth does good. If he's playing great, the team gets up points. If he doesn't play great, they don't do any well. And that just shows how important he is to the offense. So that's why he's the guy that I chose. All right. That's me.
All right. Next up, Alpha. The Alpha July.
I think it's Jalo. I thought it was Jalo.
I know. I'm just messing with it. Jalo, Alpha Jalo.
Juice.
The most exciting player in the league next to Danny Kidner. Alpha is unstoppable when he's in his zone. He can hurt you at any given time. Defensively, offensively, returner. He's the ultimate package when it comes to being an import. Anytime you playing against the Royals, you got to know where he is at all times. His speed, undeniable, something that you have to deal with. It's hard to match up with. He's always, no matter what league he's in, he's always one of the top players. And I think everybody's seen why. If they didn't know, they've seen why. Just Google him. Go on YouTube. Follow him on his Instagram page. He's a walking highlight. And it's for a reason. The guy works hard. He has a speed that, that doesn't seem to be slowing up. As he ages, it doesn't slow up. And he's with, one of the most dynamic quarterbacks. So it's only right that both of them are in this top list because they both are dynamic, but definitely Alpha is something that you pray for when you're a coach. Some speed like that, an athlete like that, somebody's dedicated to his craft as much as he is. You want to give him that nod. So he's definitely in the top candidates as far as offensive players of the year.
Yeah. Next guy that I want to bring in is quarterback Brandon Gwinner. And I know we've talked about another quarterback on here. I don't want to do too much comparison, but when you look at Brandon Gwinner, you have prototypical like size for a quarterback. He's 6'3", almost 6'4", I think. Strong arm, very athletic quarterback. And when I say strong arm, then say athletic quarterback, what I mean is that this is a guy who he's playing with a young line at certain positions. So there's times where he's not able to set his feet and, properly put the ball where he wants to. So he has to use athleticism. And what really stands out about him is the fact that he's able to adjust to that. Because in my opinion, I played quarterback a little bit in my lifetime. I'd be damned if I always got to move to throw the ball. Y'all better block somebody. But for Gwinner, he's a better talent than I am at quarterback, obviously. So he's able to not let that type of stuff affect him. If you watch this guy play, he's almost always constantly on the move. Rarely is he sitting in a clean pocket throwing the ball, which is crazy insane because imagine if he was, how good this team would be. But he's still able to make not only his team better, but everyone around him better throughout the game. And you'll watch him play and you'll see that he has a lot of receivers that are talented. Nonetheless, he got a lot of talented receivers, but also he has receivers that he's made better. And I think that this season is kind of a culmination of it. And you can kind of see the work that he's put in the last 2 years in this 1 year. Because last year he was good. There was flashes of him being great. This year he's been great. Can maybe name one game, and I won't say which game it was, where I felt like he just wasn't himself. He probably needed a Snickers or something that day. It didn't. But outside of that one performance, because I have to keep it 100, I can't just say he was great every week. Outside of that one performance, he's been lights out. He's been playing at a level above everyone else at the quarterback position, but also rising the level of his teammates in the process. He's made some of these offensive linemen look better than they are. And I'll tell you that based on the voting I've seen for the All Finland. He's made a lot of them look better than they are. And receivers-wise, he's brought up some guys who we probably wouldn't have noticed without him. I feel like there's not another team that would have let someone like Christian Nautanen look as good as he did this season. There's not another team that would have been able to get the ball to Lucas Erola as much as he did as a quarterback. There's just not other places that would happen. And that's what he brought to this team this year is he was the driving force of this offense that I don't know about stats. I haven't looked at stats, but I would say that they probably have the highest points per game in the league. But I could be wrong because it really just depends on how many points you score against the Wolverines. But that's my guy, Brandon Gwinner.
All right, next up, we got Miko Sepinen for the Porvo Butchers, your guy.
My other guy.
The vet now. Miko's a vet now. You know what I mean? But he's been consistent. Definitely has been a weapon for Brandon Gwinner all season. One of the dedicated Porvo Butchers. I don't think Miko has ever played for any other team, as far as I know. But he's a dedicated Butcher, always there. He's always going to be around. He's always an option. Remember, if anybody watched the Miami Dolphins Hard Knocks back in the day, Ocho Cinco short stint there, he always used to tell the coach, "I'm open." And so that when I think of Miko Sepinen, that's what I think of. He's always somewhere open. Whether he gets the ball or not, he's always somewhere open.
Yeah.
You can always pretty much always go to him, and he'll make it happen for you. He shows up in all the games. He has a big role in this playoff game. He has a major role in his playoff game. He's going to be going against a lot of some good nickelbacks, some good hard hitting safeties for the Roosters. So Miko has a big game ahead of him, but he's been also kicking field goals, helping the team out in every way possible, punting the ball. He can do it all. He's Mr. Do It All for them. So shout out to Miko Sepinen for getting voted, as far as one of the candidates for the Player of the Year.
Yeah. And I know if anyone's listening, like, man, is everybody Offensive Player of the Year? No, but it was a lot of good offensive play this year.
Yeah.
It was an interesting year to see so many guys kind of stand out, and we have multiple guys in some teams because it's a long season, and you'll just notice that there's kind of like it depends on when you're playing and who you're playing on how impactful you can really be. sometimes if the teams you're playing aren't going to give you a challenge, there's not as much you can do, or sometimes you got to, pull it out the mud yourself. And that's what we've seen from a lot of these guys is they've not only been good all year, they've all had those like moments where we're like, damn, he might be the best ever. Each one of these guys, you can look back and pick a game or a couple of games and be like, there's nobody better than this guy until you see someone else on the list. And then you're like, oh, shoot, my bad. And we don't feel like choosing. So we got like 8 of them up here. But moving to defense, which is a much shorter list, because as I've said many times, ain't nobody playing defense in the Maple League. And I mean that jokingly and as a whole, because we have so many like 12-year-old kids playing this season. It just means that the offensive guys are a little bit better. But the guys who are playing defense, there are a couple of them who are doing more than their fair share. And those are some of our defensive player of the year candidates. And I'll start this one off. I'm trying to decide who I want to take. You know what? I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to start with DeMarco Artis. Defensive lineman from Boston Royals. Is he number 39? I think that's his jersey number.
33.
33. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
I know that.
It was that's what was just coming to my mind. Was like, I can't remember what number he is now. Because not because I don't know him on the field, because those reflective ass jerseys, it's blinding. Yeah. I know his body type now, so I know exactly who he is when he's playing. But back to DeMarco. This is one of the most impressive players. I don't care, offense, defense, whatever, I've ever seen in my life, because this dude is constantly double team, triple team, and still ended up getting 11 sacks on the season. I don't understand how he is so good, and therefore he has to be one of the best defensive players in the league. And that I'm going to leave it at that. Who do you got?
Mm-hmm. I'm going to start off with Zach Wright. Zach Wright, Mr. Pick Six, Mr. We ready to put this Dallas Cowboy thing to bed. Mr. Porvo, I'm here. But he's been electric. He's been making a lot of big plays defensively for Porvo Butchers all year. As a safety, he is exactly what you want. Somebody who reads the quarterback. He make plays in the air. He also helps on the run game. He's everywhere, and he's also a great returner. He will have a big role also in this playoff game coming up, but he's been consistent ever since he stepped on the field for Porvo all year. You've heard his name every game. He's also the leading league interception. He led the league in interceptions.
Yeah, he had 9.
And just had one this past game. So
did he?
He got one this past game, I think. I thought I seen him pick one, or they didn't count it as a pick. That was the script. My bad.
Okay, yeah, okay. I was
thinking that it was probably going to count it as a pick, but no.
Okay.
He had a strip, but he's a ball hawk, honey badger type player. He's gritty. He's everywhere, and definitely should be in this list for the top defensive players.
Yeah. The next guy that I'm gonna bring out is Will. I want to say Little. Is that how you pronounce his name? Is Little or Lydell? I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'm gonna call him Big Will, big number 0.
Big Will.
Yeah, Big Will, big number 0 for the Helsinki Roosters. You know what's really hard to do? Like, similar to what I said about DeMarcus, it's very hard to play defensive lineman and be successful in the middle. Will is a defensive tackle. He's a nose tackle. Like, he's not an edge rusher. He's not supposed to be leading the league in not interceptions, leading the league in sacks. It's similar to a Aaron Donald type. Like, Aaron Donald shouldn't be leading the league in sacks, but sometimes he is. He's always up there. And that's what Big Will is he's a driving force in the middle, there to stop the run. But if you're going to pass it, he's going to get after you anyways. And it's really impressive because I've seen from the beginning of the season towards the end of the season. I remember earlier in the season, I said his name a couple of times. And I was like, man, if he was like, a little bit faster, he'd have a lot more tackles. And I feel like maybe he just wasn't in season form yet, because as the season progressed, I feel like he got a little bit quicker. He got about a half a step back. And now those plays that he kind of couldn't reach early in the season, he's making them without missing a beat. He's got accustomed to the speed that's going on in the Maple League. He understands how teams are blocking him. And it's just really impressive to see his progression as he went from kind of like, okay, he's an import, but he's just doing okay, to he might be the best defensive tackle I've ever seen in the Maple League. And I say that with no shade to anybody who's played in the past or anything, but for a defensive tackle position, it's very difficult to stand out in the way that he does. Because he's also on a very good defensive line, but it does nothing without zero in the middle creating havoc. And he forces teams to run the ball away from him. And that kind of effect is why he's one of the guys I think should be a defensive player of the year.
Here we go. Last up, Mr. Leroy. The last dragon. The last dragon, Mr. Achilles.
The obvious choice.
The obvious choice. He obviously would be my top pick, honestly, for defensive player of the year. Everywhere that you want him to be around the ball for the Scorpio Steelers this year. Multiple 10-sack double-digit tackles, games, tackles for loss. He was everywhere that, over the field. Like, he controlled their defense. He was a general on defense. This is the type of linebacker that you want to have as a part of your organization, somebody who's there, who's accountable, who's dependable. And Mr. Leroy was all of that for Scorpio this year. Well, I don't know if he's going to play for them next year, but if I was them, I would definitely bring him back, sign him before he even leaves.
Yeah, don't let him leave without a contract. I mean, we really signed this before we let you out the country. A little something.
Because they don't make backers like him anymore. I'm just gonna be honest. They don't make linebackers like him anymore. So if you find one, you got to keep him. You got to take care of him. He took care of you all season. He did his job every single game. There wasn't a game where I seen that he played where he wasn't where he was supposed to be majority of the time.
That is
true. He was always around the ball, always around. And I'll say this one thing real quick. When I was in college, and I like to say my defense in college is pretty good. One thing my coach said, at the end of the play, I should see 11 people in the film. I should see 11 people at the ball. That didn't happen for Scorpio, but I can tell you one person who was always
33
on the ball at the end of the play, and that was number 33. So shout out to him. He definitely is my top pick for the player of the year, defensive player of the year. Will he win it? Who knows? We'll find out. But Leroy, great linebacker, great player, balled out this season. So he deserved to be on this list.
All right, and that's offense and defensive player of the year. For our last award, it's the outstanding player of the year, the CSU award. And pretty much it's one of these guys that we've already talked about. So we won't go over them again, but we will list them just so you guys know who we're thinking. Christian Powell, again, is on this list as CSU award. Zach Wright is on this list for CSU award. Seth Rowland is on this list for CSU award. Timothy Moravik is on the list. Alpha Jallo is also on the list. Danny Kittner is on the list. And the last name on the list is the first person who could win the award twice, and that is Lee Anthony Reasonover. And we're going to talk about him real quick because we didn't talk about him yet. Lee Anthony Reasonover played in 4 games and had almost 400 yards rushing, and I want to say 6 touchdowns, something like that. And his team won 4 games. Did he play in 5 games? No. Yeah, they did lose when he played in 1 game. So maybe he played in 5 games. But the thing about Lee Anthony Reasonover play this season was he was so good that this team was destined to make the playoffs based on almost his performance. Not playing for that team, they no longer are in the playoffs. And we think as a group that is outstanding. And that is impressive to have that kind of impact on your team. And that is what the CSU award stands for, is for someone who has such an impact on their team that even if you took them off that team would no longer be the same. And Lee Anthony Reasonover had that impact in a short period of time, similar to some of the other candidates on this team, on this list as well. But just want to reiterate that he is eligible for this award because he did play this season and he played enough that he made a big enough impact to us to be on this list. You have anything you want to add to that before we jump off?
No, you said it all for that pretty much. I mean, Lee Anthony, for him to still even be on this list shows you how strong of a player he was for that team. So, other than that, everybody else is well deserving, including him. Sorry he didn't get to finish the season, but all these guys are well deserving to be on this list.
The Crocodiles will play host to their Botnia Bowl rivals, the Royals, for their playoff matchup. I think it's on Saturday. I hope it's on Saturday. Sineoki won both of the previous matchups by scores of 35-14 and 34-28, respectively. Let's look at both teams before this matchup, starting with the Crocodiles. Q, take it away.
All right, now Crocodiles. First thing we got to think about is how much are they going to feed Kristen Powell? Kristen Powell, obviously, leading rusher of the league. Touchdown leader of the league. The man has been doing everything possible for this team to get to where they are now. Zach Whitehead, probably the most underrated quarterback to ever get to this position, to even ever play, I think, for the Crocodiles. It was a lot of big name guys come playing for the Crocodiles before him, but the past few years they've stuck with him, and he's got them to exactly where they need to be. But besides that, you got the Sockler brothers. The Sockler brothers have played an important part for the Crocs this year, being very consistent, playing together, being touchdown guys, I say, first down guys. They've been doing it all.
Yes.
So they have a mixture of a lot of players who aren't necessarily looked at as like top players necessarily in Finland, but they play great together. And at the end of the day, for a team, that's what you want. So I would say the Crocs offense as a whole, including the big offensive line, is something that's going to be important coming into this playoff game. So I would say, firstly, who to watch is this whole Crocs offense, including a big offensive line. I won't talk about necessarily their defense right now because I feel like the offense is more important for the Crocs, because if their offense isn't going, it doesn't really matter what's going on the defense side of the ball. They're so strong on the offensive side that the defense just is so rested, and they're just always, they're always healthy that they don't really have to have long drives and stuff like that because the offense is so strong. So I'd say anybody watching this game, tuning into this game, make sure you pay attention to the ball distribution between the Sockler brothers. Also, number one, I can't remember his name. Number one, slot receiver. He can play. Olenquist, yeah. So he's another important factor too. Hard matchup in that slot for him when you got those big Sockler brothers outside playing receiver. He gets a lot of one-on-ones with linebackers, safeties, and he's pretty much gonna win those matchups against, depending on who it is. But
he's a jet sweep guy, right?
Jet sweep guy, yeah, definitely. You see him out there with the lime green gloves on, the mixed match, whatever. But he's a great player. He's been consistent all year too. Hasn't got talked about that much because their team is just so good as far as offensive side of the ball. But he's somebody that you have to worry about. He's somebody that you're going to have to deal with going into this game.
What about your keys to win? What will the Crocodiles have to do to win this game?
Okay, Crocodiles, first thing you have to do to win this game, make sure you do not turn the ball over on offense. Make sure you do not turn the ball over on offense. That's one. Second thing, do not give up any big plays to Mr. Alpha. Anything outside of the offensive side of the ball for the Warriors. If you give, any other Khalifa, any of those guys, any type of big plays on special teams is going to make it harder for you. It's going to keep them in the game. So what you want to do is try to control the clock, offensively control the clock, keep the ball. Do not kick Alpha the ball. Say this now. I'm gonna say this now. Don't do what everybody else been doing. Just let's kick these kickoffs, punt returns. Do not kick him the ball. Make sure if he beats you, it's on offense. Mm-hmm. Do not chance it. Don't chance it. I don't care how you feel about your. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care how you feel about how good your punt team is or your kickoff team is. Just don't chance it. Kick the ball out of bounds, do soccer punts. I don't care what you do, but do not kick Alpha the ball to the point where he has multiple attempts to hurt you, because he will hurt you if you keep trying him. Now, that's the second thing. The third thing, keys to win: go to Powell, let Powell run you all the way to the championship. Simple as that. Don't get pretty. Don't get sweet. Don't try to throw in anything new, extra. What you guys been doing has been working. Like Purvis said, you scored 30 points every time you played this team. I don't see anything different happening from that because of the Royals' defense on the backside of it. But those are three things for me that they just absolutely have to listen to, have to pay attention to make sure they win this game.
Those are good things. I mean, that's perfect. What about the weakest link? What is something that could prevent the Crocodiles from, being able to follow those keys?
Right now, I think the weakest link for the Crocodiles would be to think that they're supposed to win this game. You're supposed to be confident. Don't get me wrong. You're supposed to be confident, but don't go in this game thinking since you beat them before that it's going to happen again. Like, they're not gonna. Oh, this is a sweet game, and because I've seen it happen before. And I can tell you, I have seen Mr. Alpha, and I keep going back to Alpha. I have seen Alpha hurt feelings. I have seen
Feelings.
it with my own eyes. I have seen him hurt feelings because people came into these games thinking that, oh, we only have to worry about him, or we only have to worry about him. Sanioki, do not come into this game thinking that you're supposed to win this game. You actually have to play. You actually have to stop people. You actually have to stop Timothy. You have to stop Swarsky. Don't let them come in there and get momentum, interceptions, anything of that nature, because before you know it, you'll be third quarter, fourth quarter trying to fight to win like you were put in a position the last time y'all played where you had to go down the field and score. You don't want to get put in those type of predicaments, not in the playoffs, because it might not turn out the way you want it to all the time. So the weakest link is just do not go into this game expecting to win just because they're the fourth seed.
Yeah. And so what about the X factor for the Crocodiles? What do you think they bring to the table that will set them apart in this matchup?
I think the fact they've been consistent all season. They haven't been put in too many positions where they've had to fight to get back in the games. Just keep being you, keep being your team's identity. Do what you do and do what you do best. Like I said earlier, don't try to get pretty, don't try to get sweet, don't bring out anything new if you don't have to. Just do what you've been doing consistently. Don't try to just go out there and play this chess match. You know what you're good at doing. You know what they have to stop. Commit to Christian Powell being part of your success. Just commit to it. Hey, they're going to have to stop him. If you don't think their defense can, then stay committed. Don't switch out. If it doesn't work the first half, it's 7-7 at halftime. Don't run away from it. Don't go to getting Zach Whitehead to throw the ball 30 and 40 times when you don't have to. Stick with Powell. He's got you there. Stick with him.
Yeah, that's smart. So I'll take the Royals now. Talk about this team in Vasa. Before I say anything, first of all, Royals can win this thing. I'm just saying that out there. I know there's, we joke about the Royals and social media and all that stuff, but they can win this game. And you kind of alluded to it earlier when you were talking about taking them too lightly. That's not something you want to do. We do have to remember that they've kind of already. This was the only way they were going to get in the playoffs was to play the Crocs, and they had the last week of the season off. So they've been preparing for this. Just before I'm prerequisiting what I'm going to say, but they're ready for this game. If anybody's ready for this game, the Royals are ready. Of all the teams, of all four teams coming to the playoffs, the Royals are the most ready. I 100% believe that. But when you're watching this game, you need to look out for a couple of guys, and it's very simple. On offense, it's three guys. Tim Moravec at quarterback, Alpha Jallo at receiver or running back. He plays them both now. And Tom Swosty at running back. And you'll notice Tom, he'll be the short bowling ball looking guy that just goes, okay? So in case people don't know who Tom is. These three guys on offense will always have the ball. If one of these guys don't have the ball, they playing fast and loose. They taking a chance. And every once in a while, Tim will take a chance and you'll see some other guys touch it, but you won't see it a lot. mostly throughout this game, they will find creative ways to get these three guys the ball, and they will be successful. There has not been a team to just stop these three guys. It's just not possible. They're that talented between the three of them. They're versatile. Even Sawosty, underrated as a receiver, guy can catch and create his own plays in open field. So these three guys are what you're going to be looking for on offense. On a defensive side of the ball, you're going to look at the different levels for the Royals. On the D line, you're looking for number 33. Am I right? I said 39 earlier. You're looking for number 33, DeMarco Artis. On the edges, make rushing from either left or right, depending on where he feels more comfortable. You're going to see him. He's going to get some pressure on Zach Whitehead. If he doesn't get pressure on Zach Whitehead, that's because they made Christian Powell stay in to help, which is probably what they're going to end up having to do anyways. They're going to need help to block this guy. But in the middle of the field, you got linebacker Lamin Latica, number 7, and Raul Khalifa, number 56. These two guys are going to be your playmakers for the Royals. They're going to be the guys you see either at the beginning or the end of most of the run plays, as well as in the passing game. You're going to see that despite them both playing linebacker, they're both very fast side to side. And when it comes to chasing the ball down, Khalifa is probably the best in the league right now when it comes to chasing the ball down. Has a lot to do with the fact that he weighs like 15 kilos. So he's pretty light and fast, but it's a really good job of chasing the ball wherever it is. And Latica is going to add edge rush as well as A and B gap pressure. When they start to do their stunts and blitzes, you're going to see number 7 showing up a lot in the backfield. Last guy that you need to look for on the Royals, and I think this is a guy that we kind of underrated all season, but his respect is now given here in the playoffs, and that's cornerback Joseph P. I'm not going to try to say his last name. That'd be stupid of me. But Joseph is number 20, plays cornerback for the Royals, and pretty much he's the best corner they have, and he's going to be the one that either makes or breaks them in the pass game. If he's able to make plays, most likely against Yane Sarkala, then they will probably come out on top. If he's able to make a few plays by himself without help. Now, if he needs help, that means other receivers are doing things elsewhere, and that's nothing on him. But if there's plays and he has a chance to make them one-on-one and he makes them, it's going to put the Crocodiles in positions they don't want to be in. So he's going to be very important in the pass game. Their safeties are okay, but ultimately, when you play corner, it comes down to that fade ball against a 6'4" receiver or a deep out route against him one-on-one. That's what's going to come down to. And so far this season, Joseph's played great to his level when he can, but there's been times where he's been suspect and he's been beaten. And this is one of those situations where we're going to find out if he's really, Maple League ready. He is a U20 guy, so he's still young, but I really think he's one guy you really want to watch in this game to see if they're able to hold up against the Crocodiles' passing attack when they do pass. Now, keys to win for the Royals is very simple. First key, utilize your quarterback's versatility. Tim Moe can run. Tim Moe can pass. Let him do both. Let him cook. Whatever he wants to do, that's what they need to do. If he feels that if they can pass against this team and do it successfully, then air it out. Go 5 wide. I don't care. Whatever he feels comfortable doing is going to help the Royals win this game. I don't know who's calling the plays. I don't know who's in charge. I don't run the building. But if anybody is trying to micromanage him out there, that will be the death of them. Let Tim cook. If he cooks, they have a chance to win this thing. Another thing that they're going to have to do to win is to prevent the Crocodiles' offense from being on the field. That defense is going to have to nut up and force some 3-and-outs. I don't care how you do it. I don't know how you're going to do it, but you're going to have to get the Crocodiles off the field. The Crocs want to drive the field, take time off the clock, lull you to sleep, and then pound it in the goal line. That's what they want to do. They want to drive down the field and then score. You have to force them to make big plays early. Make them work to get into the end zone and get them off the field as soon as possible so that you can control the clock. So this defense is going to have to step up in this game. Next thing they're going to have to do to win this game is exploit holes in the Crocs secondary coverage. It's been proven. The one game that they lost, the one game the Crocs lost, their secondary was getting lit up left and right. Everybody was open. That's
Everybody.
That's all you have to do is force their secondary to play. So far this season, a lot of times when teams play the Crocs, they get all caught up in that pass rush that the Crocs have that is so good that forces you to kind of get rid of the ball quickly. If you can limit that and force that secondary to actually have to cover guys, you're going to find holes and you're going to be able to win. But you do got to catch the ball. That is one thing you got to do. Last thing Royals need to do if they want to win this game is have a momentum-changing play by none other than Alpha Jallo. It's just one of those things. You don't want to bank on like big plays from people, but this is that type of game. It's going to be close no matter what, but if Alpha is able to something similar to what Q said earlier, if he's able to get, I think in the kickoff capacity, kickoff or a punt return, if he's able to get the ball in space and do his electrifying running that he does better than anyone else in Europe, that'll change the entire outlook of this game. Because when he does things, like you said earlier, he hurts feelings. And that momentum, that's going to be a part of this game. That's going to be another aspect of this game that the other playoff game won't have. This is still the Botnia Bowl. I mean, I don't know what they play for, but I'm pretty sure they're still going to call it a Botnia Bowl. Like, this is still a rivalry. These cities are what, an hour away from each other, 30 minutes? I don't know. They're right next door. So if Alpha can do something to change the feeling in that stadium, it could put the Royals over top. So that's something they have to do in this game if they want to have a chance of winning. Now, the weak link for the Royals would be their offensive line versus the Crocs front seven. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The Royals offensive line is not good. And that's just facts. Now, the Crocs front seven is one of the best in the league. Again, facts. So this is the matchup. They have that offensive line has to fight, claw. If the Royals offensive line doesn't get any holding calls, they are not trying hard enough. That's how this game should go. And I know that sounds counterintuitive to winning, but it shows the aggression that they need to be having in this game. And I think it'll be not accepted, but I think it won't be a negative impact to their quarterback if he knows that they're trying that hard to protect him, and also for their running back to give him lanes, is that they're holding. We all know if you play offensive lineman, you're always holding. The thing is, you just don't want to get caught. That's all it is. You just don't want to get caught. But if you do get caught, at least you're getting caught doing what you're supposed to do. You're saving a life. And if they do that, they'll be fine. But at this point in time, I'm not confident that they can. And again, just reiterating, the X factor for the Royals would be the versatility of Alpha Jallo. The fact that he can return a kick or a punt for a touchdown. He can get a handoff from running back for a touchdown. He can get a jet sweep and score a touchdown. He can play receiver and catch a pass and score a touchdown. He can play defensive back and get an interception and score a touchdown. There are 6 ways that he can score in this game. And I only mention him scoring because it's going to take points to win. We know it's going to take points to win. And him scoring from any of these positions will give that team a boost because he's exciting when he scores, and it will also deflate your opponent. So it's a two-way swing. Every time he touches the ball, if he can make something happen to affect the entire game, it will put his team in a better spot. if you've seen anything from the Royals defense, they feed off of his energy. It's a lot of young kids following a star player. His energy is what makes them play better. So him doing something exciting, electrifying, that will make their team better as a whole. He's probably the only person in the Maple League that has that kind of impact on his squad. And I think that's what really sets them apart in this game. I think the Crocs are a good team, a great team even, but he has that kind of presence that he could lead his team to victory by just doing something great, which is already in his normal playing. So that's the Royals and Crocs. I feel good. What last thoughts on the game before we move on? What is your initial like feeling of like the matchup? Like how do you feel about it? Not who's gonna win or lose, but just like these two teams.
I honestly think with the guys that's going to be on the field, this is going to be a more interesting game than a lot of people think. Probably.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I mean, we both just gave reasons why. It could go two ways. Either the Royals can not be ready,
yeah,
and just let the Crocs come in and just dominate them and trample over them, or we can get the Royals giving everything they possibly have, and Alpha having one of those crazy games where he gets to receiving touchdowns and a punt return or interception for a touchdown. We could have one of those games too. In these games like this, though, I think you need help from like Rob Khalifa, the other corner that you were talking about. These guys are not just going to have to be there; they're going to have to make plays.
mm-hmm.
You're going to need interceptions. You're going to need more than just Alpha doing stuff. I mean, it's going to help if you got Alpha there too, but you're going to need help from all the other guys too. Maybe guys that haven't been making a lot of plays during the season, they're going to need to make plays in this game. They're going to have everybody on the same accord. You're going to need big plays from DeMarco on the regular, strip sacks. Things like this is what wins games against teams like the Crocs.
Yeah.
Stuff where it's big plays because you can't physically handle them for 4 quarters. So you're going to need an X factor. You're going to need other ways to give you an edge. And if you don't do that, and if guys aren't making plays, then it's going to just be that. The Crocs are just going to go to the 4th quarter, and they're going to get a ball to Powell all the way through, and you're going to have long drives, and it's going to be over before we know it. But in order for the Royals to really come, they're going to have to come compete, and everybody's going to have to give their all in this game. Everybody should be dead tight. I'm going to tell you this, Royals, coaches, organization, players, when you walk off that field after that game, if you look to the side of you, and if you look to the left and you look to the right of you, there shouldn't be anybody that isn't dead dog tired. There shouldn't be anybody, unless they just didn't play. But if you played, you should be dog tired in this game. This is a playoff game. This is a game that you're not guaranteed to ever be in again in your life. So you have to give it your all since you have this opportunity. So if the Royals don't come into this game knowing that, it's going to be a short stint, short ride. We appreciate you coming. We'll see you watching the championship. But otherwise, everybody on that team needs to come with everything they got in order for them to have a chance against the Crocs.
You said it perfectly. So I guess now we can talk about the Roosters. And I mean, it's only fitting that Q gets to talk about the Roosters now, right?
You know it.
Tell us about
it. All right, here we go. Starting off, first up, who to watch for the Helsinki Roosters? I mean, it's a lot of names, but I'll just start with these. First, let's go with the running back combo. We got Ville Hämäläinen, and then we got Mr. Lehtinen, number 6. The reason I started off with this combo is this is a very important part of this game coming up, is this running game. At one point in the season, Mr. Ville Hämäläinen was averaging 7.3 yards a game.
Quick question,
per
Q.
carry. Yeah.
Do you think Hämäläinen is going to play? I heard he hurt his knee.
I think he's a tough guy. I haven't seen where it said he was out.
True. I just said he heard it. I don't know what that means.
So I'm going with the latter that he'll probably play. I mean, I haven't heard that he wasn't, but I'm gonna say. But even without him, I think they'll make an adjustment to make sure Lehtinen gets a lot of carries too, along with Sinadino's running the ball. But like I was saying, at a certain point, these guys were bruising people, 100-yard games between the both of them, definitely. But then you go to Senadinos, who had a shaky start at the beginning of the season, but caught on, got the system right, and now they're the hottest offense in the league. Now I'm going to go and talk about two players on the offensive side of the ball, which I always talk about, Mr. Santu Vähämäki and Mr. Kidner, Danny Kidner. You just ended Jared Butcher's expose about them having the best receivers in the
Yeah, I
league.
said it. I said it, and I meant it.
And I beg to differ. I beg to differ. I feel like the Roosters have the best receiving core in the league because I don't think you can match up with them at all. At all. No, don't get me wrong. I don't say the Butchers receivers aren't good. They are good, but the Roosters have a different type of receivers. They have the big play receivers. The guys who, when people come to the game and they don't know anything about football, they see them and the plays that they make and they remember them.
Okay.
That's what I mean. I think these are those type of guys. Roosters have those type of guys. And I'm going to say something. So Danny Kidner, everybody coming to this game, I know right now, Porvo is looking at film. They're watching everything that Danny Kidner do. They're trying to figure out, how can we stop him? How can we stop him? Oh, we're going to bring Zach Wright over here. Now, Senadinos, he looks at the receiver before he throws the ball. So Zach Wright feels like, oh, I got his number. I can read him. But what we're going to do, we're going to do exactly what y'all want us to do. We're gonna go to Kidner, and we're gonna force you to stop him. Now, what that does is that gives Santu the one-on-one against those corners that you named. We get Santu now. Royku, now he's a good safety. Can he jump with Santu? No. Can he run with Santu? No. Can the other corner on the side run with him? No. And I'm not even going to mention the other slot receivers that the Roosters got, but y'all know who they are. So let's keep it moving with the names. I'm also going to throw out a name out there, Will Little. Like we talked about earlier, defensive lineman, big play. Mickey J, you got to see him all day. You said you wanted Mickey J to be a part of this game. Well, Will is going to be right there all game. Cam Gruel, another one, hasn't been as healthy all season, but he is active now. He is moving around. He is running. He's going to be a presence also that Brandon Gruden has to worry about. And I'll just stop there with those names. No, I'll say one more name. You know what? I'll say one more name. I'll say Alexi Olin. I'll say the vet name. And the reason I'm saying his name is not necessarily because of his defensive talents. I'm going to say it because they got a clutch kicker. So if this game came down to being tied up and the Roosters have to kick a field goal, I'm betting my money anywhere from 50 yards and up, he's going to make the field goal. Guaranteed.
You mean 50 yards and under, right?
Like 50 yards and under.
Okay.
50 yards and under. Game on the line. I'm going with action. Him to make the field goal. This is why I said his name. Now, keys to win. Keys to win. This is going to be very important right here. Keys to win. Number one, Mr. Senadinos, no turnovers. No turnovers at all. You cannot turn the ball over to the Porvo Butchers at home. That's how you get momentum. That's how they beat you the last time. 2 pick sixes hurt because you didn't look off when you were trying to get to your receivers. Now, let's do the opposite. Now, let's look Zach Wright off and go the opposite way. You know what I mean? At least bait him in there some kind of way. No turnovers. Second thing, keeps to win, go to your playmakers. Santu, go to Kidner. Go to your guys that can make things happen for you without you having to actually do it. Go to them. Let them make your plays. Let them be who they are. They practice all year round to be that guy, to be those guys for this moment. Give them the ball so they can make those plays happen. Third, keep it balanced. Offensively, keep it balanced. Don't go out there and get pass happy where you want to get the ball to Kidner all game and try to make it about him. Balance. Use your run game. Use your pass game. Stake it up. Make sure Porvo doesn't know what you're doing all the time. And you'll probably win the game easily. I'm not even going to say, I mean, they gave up 500 yards to you. They gave you 500 yards the last time you played them. The only reason that you lost was because of the pick sixes.
Easily?
So this is a team.
But you're going to say easily?
Easily. If y'all gave me 500 yards, oh my
disrespecting
goodness.
my Dallas Cowboys, man.
if I'm Danny Kittner right now, I'm in practice like, coach, anytime we're in this right here, give me the ball. You see number one over there, their cornerback, number one, whatever his name is, I think the back of his jersey says, I don't know who he is. Whatever he is, go at him. This is what I'm looking at. If I'm the coach, we're going at number one. This week, Porvo Butchers, we're coming at number one. Now, the only option you got to do is have Zach Wright back there all game. Zach Wright will not help you in the running game at all. And if he does, it's 10 after we got a first down. But if you plan on matching up and going one-on-one with number one on any one of those Rooster receivers, it's going to be a long day for him. It's going to be a long day for him.
So disrespect
I'm
that
telling
man.
you that now. Because if I'm the coach, we're going to number one. That's what I'm saying right now today in practice. We're going to number one. Guaranteed. He's going to have to come make tackles. He's going to have to come make plays. We're going at number one. Guaranteed. All right? Now, defensively, keys to win, pressure bust pipes. Pressure bust pipes. Got to get the winner. Got to get to him. Got to get hit. Got to hit him. Got to get him out of that pocket to where he can't get the balls to those second-tier receivers that you said were the best in the league. I'm going to say
don't call my guy
two.
second tier. Hold on now. The blasphemy.
If you're not first, you're second. If you're not first, you're second. You're not the number one receivers, so you got to be second. I could have said he was last, but I didn't. I said he was second. That's good. That's good for them. That's good for them. Definitely pressure bust pipes. Like I said, get pressure on Brandon Gwinner. Make him hand the ball off to Mickey, and make him beat you. That's what I say. If y'all lose, let Mickey J beat you. Don't let Brandon Gwinner beat you with his feet, and don't let him beat you with his arm. The X factor. I'll start with that first. For the Roosters, Danny Kittner. He is the X factor. He is the X factor. And I mean, this is a return game, fly sweep, jet sweep, whatever you want to call it. Let him do what he's been doing, being unstoppable these last weeks. Nobody has an answer for him right now. Nobody. The only way that they're going to stop Danny Kittner is if they kidnap him the day before the game. Other than that, he's going out there and he's going to ball in this game. The Roosters are hot right now for a reason. I said this a few weeks back. If you go back and listen, I said this a few weeks back. The Roosters are in playoff mode. I said this already. I said they are in playoff mode. And this is the worst thing that could have happened for the league and the other teams is to let them get that confidence. And now it's there. They're the team to beat now. Not the Crocs, not the Butchers. The Roosters are the team to beat now. And I'm going all the way with that. So you already know who my pick is. You already know my pick is for this game.
But the Butchers beat them the last time as team to beat.
They did. I gave it to them. Hey, stuff happens. But I don't remember what happened in the regular season now because it's the playoffs. We're in the playoffs now. So what you did to me last 2 weeks, I don't care about. You got to do it again now. And I'll say the weakest link, no lie, this is my team. The weakest link of the Roosters right now is the corners. That's the weakest link is the Roosters are the corners. I don't think, I think the corners. The Swedish corners is okay, but I don't want to see him with the one-on-ones like that. He's not that. He'll make me that comfortable. Nico Quick will be helped more so in the run game than I think the pass. But it's the Roosters just don't put those corners on islands as often as they would like. Just keep it to where, Brandon Gwinner has the thread your zone, but don't put them in a position where they got to play one-on-one all the time. Olin, I'm sure, will probably be one of the corners. If not the nickel back, he'll be one of the corners anyway. Not so much worried about him because he plays big in these type of games. So I expect maybe an interception from him at whatever position. But the Roosters are ready to go. Like I said, the hottest team, the number one receiving core in the league right now. They're probably the top receiver in the league right now. And Sinadinos, let's not forget about what his feet can do. If he makes smart plays, don't try to force anything. Run instead of forcing the pass sometimes. I think it'll put the Roosters in a great position. So here we are. There's the Roosters.
Well, thank you for that very unbiased breakdown of Helsinki Roosters and who we think is man. Look, this ain't an arguing show, but I'd be dead gonna night that the Roosters have the best receivers, and I could argue for the Roosters as well. let's just say they both got good receivers, and nobody trusted any DBs in this game. How about that?
Yeah.
Both of these, I mean, just from what we've just said, we're both saying that the cornerback position on the opposite team is going to be losing. Like, that's what we're saying in this game, is that both of these teams, high-powered offenses, both of these teams, good running backs, both of these good receiving core, both of these teams, decent front seven, right? Like, we can call it a wash. It's really going to come down in this game to, can the Roosters corners make plays when they need to, or can the Butchers corners make plays when they need to? I think in this game, I think we're both saying, like, we don't even need you to actually, like, shut anybody down or make a ton of stops. Can you make one more than the other team? Like that,
Yeah.
like, can you stop Danny Kidner once? You know, can you not let Lucas Erla get behind you one time? And that might be the difference in a win or loss for both of these teams. Like that's what's gonna come down to. Can you tackle Mikko Sepinen? Can you stop Christian Naltinen from getting open in the red zone? You know, can you jump with Santu Vekamaki? Like, I'll go both ways. Can you keep up with Johannes Johainen? Like, good receivers all around. Can you tackle Mickey J? That's the hardest thing to do in this whole game, personally. That's not easy to do. But that's the second game, and I think we did a pretty good job covering that. So if we talk about our pick'em rankings, if you were following us on the Instagram, I apologize. Those records were wrong and outdated. So just ignore last week. But we do have the correct ones now, and we got 2 weeks of games left to find out who's the best. And because of last week's kerfuffle, Q is no longer tied in first. So here we go. First place, Spencer Cutland at 34-8. Second place, Coach Q, 33-9. Third place, Chris Green, 32-10. Fourth place, Finland Swami, 30-9. Fifth place, Coach Mike, 29-10. Sixth place, Alex Malchoy, 28-11. Seventh place, Perfect Purvis at 29-13. Eighth place, Jabari Harris, 24-12. Ninth place, Andy B at 23-10. And 10th place, last place, is Jamal Clay at 22-14. So picking the winners of these games, obviously not easy, but let's briefly go into the playoffs and decide who we want and why. First game is Crocs versus Royals. Who you got and why, Q?
Ooh, here we go. Crocs against Royals. This is very hard for me because the last time the Royals told me to go with them, but I've been in Sanioki in the playoffs. I know the environment. I know how things can go there. So I'm not. So against my better judgment, I'm going with the Crocs. I'm going with the Crocs. I can't. I hope that the Royals play great, but the Crocs are just. I mean, they're just so good at home. They're just so good at home, man. Like this right here, to pick against a team that's been waiting for this moment for so long to play at, they playing at home. They just got too much control over their destiny right now, and I just think Powell is a lot, man. In playoffs, he's a lot, man, and it's gonna take a lot to stop him. And that offense and their defensive line, they haven't played super great in the last few games defensively as a whole. They haven't played super great, but they're still been winning, you know. So I'm going with the Crocs, man. I'm going with Christian Powell. I can't go against him.
I'm not mad at that. That makes perfect sense. For me personally, I'm also going with the Crocs because it just don't make sense not to pick the Crocs. I mean, they're a team you got to pick in this matchup. Respect to the Royals, I do think it's going to be close, just like it was last time they played them. I don't think it's a clear Crocs victory, but that's who I'm going to go with because I feel like they're the better team in this matchup, playing at home with a little bit less energy expended. Does that make sense? I feel like the Royals are going to have to do, like you said, leave it all on the field to win this game. And I think even if they do that, it still might not be enough. So I'm definitely going to go with the Crocs. Second game, we got Butchers versus Roosters. I think we know who
You
you
already
pick,
know this.
but
You already
just
know.
iterate why you're going with them.
I'm going with the Roosters because I just think they're in the zone right now. I think they got a mission. I think they understand where they're at in this position is in the league right now, and I think they're on their way back to what we've known them to be, and that's contenders. And also, they're playing against a team that just gave up almost 500 yards of defense, so of offensive yards. So I'm not going to go with a team that's giving up that type of yards right before the playoffs. I just cannot do it. It's not smart. A betting man wouldn't do it, so I'm not doing it, especially against this offense that they could have played. I know the Portable Butchers are at home. I know that they've been winning. They say you're supposed to always bet black, but I'm going red because, for one, red is my favorite color. It's not that I'm just a super Rooster fan or anything like that. And I tell people all the time, like, I didn't come into Finland under the Roosters. I only had a 1-year stint with the Roosters. So it's not like I'm just this crazy Rooster fan. Like, I just know football. I know what that organization is thinking and doing right now. And I just cannot say that a team that just gave up over 400 and some yards of offense, I can go with them. I just can't do it. Like, I would be a fool to do that in my mind. So I'm going with the Roosters.
Man, look, I'll tell you, after us talking about it, I want to go with the Butchers just because I don't like the way you came at them when you picked the Roosters. Like, I feel like I feel some type of way about that. I feel like, man, let's go Butchers. But mama ain't raised no fool. And I would be a fool not to pick the Butchers, but to pick them based on the fact that I don't like that you didn't pick them, I guess. I don't know. Because I don't know if you saw, I was just typing on here. I had typed down that I picked the Butchers, but I know that if I pick the Butchers now, by the end of the week, I'd be upset that I picked them. And it's not anything against the Butchers. It's not even the Cowboys thing. I honestly believe, like you said, that the Roosters are the hottest team right now, and I think that they are better than the Butchers at this point of the year. I think that the last time they played was more evidence than anything that they are better, and I think that the things that they need to change about how that game ended are easy fixes. So I'm definitely going to go with the Roosters as well, and honestly, I think that's all it's going to take.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me get back into this.
I want to know who Spence gonna pick. I know he's picking the Crocs.
American football in Finland.